Mike with Investing News Network. I'm here at the GreenRush Financial Conference, and I'm here with Andrew Wagner from the Bitcoin Co-op. Andrew, thanks so much. This is going to be a great interview. I'm looking forward to it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So, the Bitcoin Co-op, can you tell us what that means, what you guys do?
We are a nonprofit advocacy association for Bitcoin. We're composed mostly of Bitcoin enthusiasts, businesses, and entrepreneurs who want to see Bitcoin grow and are willing to sponsor our efforts to accomplish that.
Okay. And why did you pick this show as a venue?
It's interesting in that this is a burgeoning startup space, I think, due to rapid legalization, and people interested in a space growing for that reason, or with the history it has, are likely to be open-minded to other alternative investing opportunities. There's also 2 dispensaries that take cryptocurrency now. The reason being banks do follow federal law in the States, not state law a lot of the time, and they've been denying bank accounts. But no one will deny you a Bitcoin account.
That's good, that makes sense. So with regard to Bitcoins, there's been a lot of comparison between Bitcoins and gold. Is that a valid comparison?
Somewhat. Bitcoins are mined, so to speak, digitally. The supply is controlled more so than they cannot be printed in the sense that currencies can, and gold is appreciated for that reason. You'll find a lot of people who are enthusiastic about Bitcoin used to be gold bugs. Some people who are afraid of technology stick with the gold bug.
Right.
But at this point, it's way easier to transmit, use. You're going to have difficulty buying a beer in gold, is what I mean.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. From a casual transaction perspective, Bitcoin is a lot easier to use.
Yeah, that's true. The best value of gold, according to most Bitcoiners, would be for long-term storage of wealth. There's more than one cryptocurrency. It's conceivable we'll switch from Bitcoin to whatever, decades from now, years. But Bitcoin will always be an element on the periodic table. So if I save it for inheritance, I can always trust that that's a value my ancestors would have, I think. But for short-term things, I think people who want average use in society, Bitcoin is probably more popular than gold by now, judging by media response.
Okay, and with gold, there's a lot of different investment opportunities that aren't just buying physical gold. You can buy gold miners or explorers, it's all kinds of things. With Bitcoins, if I'm interested in investing in Bitcoins, can I invest in something other than just buying Bitcoins?
Sure. There's a lot of companies in the crypto space. So that's what we call it. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency and not the only one. But there are actual exchanges, just like stock exchanges, running in our space where you can invest in companies using cryptocurrency, usually Bitcoin at this point. A lot of the companies you can do that now, payment processors, exchangers, ATM operators, my buddy here. There's also, mining is also a thing in Bitcoin. A Bitcoin miner is a device you can purchase that it doesn't, not as in pickaxe, it mines in the digital sense. It's an metaphor. That is a huge business. People buy huge computers to mine with and consider that a form of investment, but it's way riskier as an investment than just buying Bitcoins. I have friends who do that, and most of them are robotics engineers or stuff like that. And your miner is as profitable as it is fast at computing. So if you're not a robotics engineer, you probably have a disadvantage compared to my buddy. Also, power costs. A lot of the miners live in Iceland or up north, which is an interesting thing. You could buy a huge mining rig, ship it up north where there's cheap hydro, and use it to pay your heating. Some people do that because it produces heat in the process of burning electricity. Some people just connect it, if they're doing it that way, to their heat supply.
Right, yeah, okay. So when you talk about exchanges where you can buy or use cryptocurrencies to buy companies that are involved in the space, are you actually buying equity in those companies? You're actually buying shares in those companies?
You can do that, yes. There are Bitcoin exchanges where you can buy, sell Bitcoins for other cryptocurrencies, government currencies, and also my buddy Quadriga just added gold. You can actually deposit and withdraw Bitcoins, gold, or dollars, and trade back and forth at will. But yes, these other exchanges are essentially crypto stock exchanges where you can purchase equity in a company. Some people, mining companies are popular. You're essentially buying a portion of their mining rig. But there's all types by now. And I think more than one market for it.
Excellent. That's really interesting. So what other role do you see, or what role do you see other cryptocurrencies playing?
Outside the idea of investment, which is the focus here, obviously, I see a lot of political, cultural value for Bitcoin. If you go to a place like Kenya right now, you'll see at least a third of Kenyans rely on Bitcoin by now because they use M-Pesa. And really they have no choice because bankers will not build banks in Kenya because bankers know that they cannot afford bank fees in Kenya. Bitcoin is free. Before Bitcoin, they used to use phone minutes. Like a Kenyan would say, how much phone minutes for that? Now, Bitcoin's a very logical extension. There's for example, one of my groups was a nonprofit ESL group. Western Union has been ripping our students off for a long time. And I don't know if they're watching, but it's kind of true. You can send, a couple months ago, someone sent $1.8 million all the way across the world in 15 minutes, cost them 80 cents.
Right, whereas doing that with somebody like Western Union would cost a whole lot more.
In a Bitcoin-based economy, many businesses will find themselves relegated to a middleman position and inevitably obsoleted. And society as a whole will be more efficient that way, especially for small businesses. Like, why should you have to pay a huge percentage fee if you're running a little mom and pop shop when we'll show up and give you a free tablet and charge you no percentage fees whatsoever on your Bitcoin transactions? It's almost a humanitarian effort. And then, yeah, that's what I think.
Good stuff. So do you see other countries limiting the use of Bitcoin the way that China has?
Probably they'll try. Technologically, they cannot. It's a peer-to-peer network. The only way to shut down Bitcoin would be to invade every single one of our houses all over the world simultaneously and take all of our computers at once. And given that there's millions of us and I forget how many teraflops, there's more computing power in our network than the top 100 supercomputers combined. They're not going to shut it down. But they can block points of exchange, prevent you from having a bank account if you're a Bitcoin business. Some countries want to do that, and they'll cite reasons like drugs, money laundering. But I really think those reasons are fronts. A lot of countries have alternatives. China, for example, is they're trying to enforce capital flight controls, essentially, is China's game. When people make money in China, they tend to want to leave because there's nice private schools in Canada and places like that. So Bitcoin allows them to do that. There's also places, say you want to donate money to Snowden, or say you're Russian and want to donate to a gay rights activist. Bitcoin is your only viable option for that. If you do that via rubles in Russia, someone will knock on your door. But you've essentially enabled free speech to a degree. I'm sure China doesn't like that, because I can make a website anonymously now. No one will know who made that website. Whose door will they knock on? Everyone's? And then things like that, I think a lot of politicians are lobbied, probably by various Western Union, bankers, people with money in industries that will be obsoleted by crypto. Which is just a thing that happens with every new technology, you know? I'm sure people who bred horses didn't like the car. But I don't think that's a fair reason to stop if it's helping society.
What about Mt. Gox and what happened there? Is that something that investors should be concerned about?
Gox was an exchange that was well known to be untrustworthy to Bitcoiners and maintained itself in the media with less savvy people, and it's interesting. Gox essentially was operating a fractional reserve, which most Bitcoiners are very, very, almost religiously against. Also, they are technologically incompetent. I'm not saying I did it, but a lot of people were hacking Gox. They had a problem called, there was a glitch that would allow you to duplicate a transaction. So if I sent you a Bitcoin, there's a very special glitch that would allow me to create 2 or 3 more duplicate transactions of that send. The thing is, normally nothing would happen. Once one is confirmed, the other 3 disappear, vanish, because you cannot spend a Bitcoin twice. But it takes 15 minutes for one to be confirmed and the others to vanish. So, if you're an exchange, and you don't wait 15 minutes, which Gox did not, I could do the following. Send you 100 Bitcoins, duplicate those transactions, so you think I sent you 400, withdraw all 400, then 300 will be invalidated. You see what happened to them. That's just foolishness for an organization their size, and they should have known that, really. And a lot of us accused Mark himself of being corrupt. He tried to blame Bitcoin, largely because in order to stop going bankrupt, he figured if Bitcoin went down in value enough, he could buy back the Bitcoins he lost and pay us back. His goal here would be bad PR for Bitcoin so it reaches a new low that he can effectively pay back to the masses, not get in trouble. He failed to do that, obviously, because they did go bankrupt. But that's an obvious plan if you think about it.
Sort of like what people conjectured about the Federal Reserve and Americans trying to decrease the cost of gold so that they can buy back the leases that they've done of their gold at a lower price.
Maybe. I mean, inflation serves a similar value. The more debt America has, the more incentive it has to produce inflation. Its debt will be worth less. So that's very sensible. I mean, there's another huge battle there that you cannot arbitrarily print Bitcoins. And a lot of people like this idea for lots of different reasons. It's hard to go into them, but a lot of it's people blame it for debt. They think it changes the way the government behaves, essentially. They think that the government would be more fiscally responsible if it could not print money whenever it wanted to. And also that that's frankly kind of unfair.
All right, well that's great, Andrew. Thank you very much. Very interesting stuff. So this is Mike Roger with Investing News Network. I've been speaking with Andrew Wagner from Bitcoin Co-op, and we're here at the GreenRush Financial Conference. Thanks again.
Thanks for having us.